Welcome to another episode of the Dan Norton Show. Today, I am here for a second time with Bach Ho. In our last discussion, we talked about a defense of egoism. That was the title of Bach's Ph.D. dissertation in philosophy. And we mentioned that we might get to another topic, which Bach is also interested in, organic intelligence, and which he has a YouTube channel about. But we didn't get to it last time, and we decided we would have a separate discussion for that. So here we are to talk about that. Bach, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Okay, so tell us about this organic intelligence. This is something I had not heard of until very recently, until I heard about it from you. So I would imagine that many people in my audience also haven't heard about it. So can you just tell us about what this is and how you got interested in it?
Yes, it's an approach to healing and growth developed by Steven Hoskinson. In the map of overall therapies, if you think, well, there's cognitive behavioral approaches to therapy, there's psychodynamic approaches to therapy in which you explore your childhood and gain insight that might help you in the present and the future. That's psychodynamic, and then another major area is somatic or body oriented or nervous system oriented therapies like somatic experiencing. Organic intelligence, first of all, is most known as an approach to healing and growth and draws on many elements of a wide range of therapies. If you go to the core, however, it's primarily a theory of how you can increase your capacity to process information and intensity automatically and easily. That's at the core of the theory. And the main application is in the realm of healing and growth. So it's most known as a therapeutic approach. At root, it's a theory of how to increase capacity. And quickly to illustrate what capacity means here, if you're in a work meeting and you have a lot of people talking at you and giving you information and it's a lot to process, if it's reaching your capacity to process easily, you may have to use more effort, more focus to process all that information, and then you may get exhausted later on because you're over capacity. The bigger your capacity to process information intensity, the more easily you can process what life throws at you because it takes a lot more to cause you discomfort or stress or strain. The purpose of organic intelligence work is to increase that capacity, which is a fundamentally different approach from many therapeutic and growth and self-help approaches, which mainly focus on various forms of efforting, like do breathing exercises, do positive thinking, do guided imagery, just these various effortful practices to cope with stress and to gain insight and to move forward. Organic intelligence focuses on building capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before we go any further, maybe I should have tried to say something at the beginning about this, but since my channel is themed around Ayn Rand, and I see you have Atlas Shrugged in your background there, this is something we're both interested in, Ayn Rand's philosophy. Um, we don't have to get too deep into this, but can you just say in a very general way how this ties, if it does tie, to objectivism or Ayn Rand's philosophy? And then maybe we can get more into it in detail later on.
Two quick things off the top of my head. Two major fundamental ideas in objectivism, the philosophy of Ayn Rand, are first, that being able to be connected to reality out there without and having that connection not be distorted by internal intensity and experience, thoughts and feelings is fundamental to pursuing your happiness. That's one idea. Connection to reality out there that's not distorted by internal intensity is important. Distorted by internal thoughts and feelings is important for happiness. And a second idea, major idea in objectivism, is that the achievement of your own happiness is the highest moral purpose. So connect to reality out there without being distorted by internal experience, and happiness is the highest moral purpose. In organic intelligence, two fundamentals are, first, something called orientation, which refers to being able to be connected to reality out there through the senses having without being distracted by thoughts and feelings that distort your ability to connect to the environment out there. And secondly, there's a phrase in organic intelligence, the job is enjoyment. And it gestures at the idea that the way to increase capacity is to enjoy. Pleasure is the way to increase capacity. So both objectivism and organic intelligence are pro orientation to reality, connection to reality out there primarily, without it being distorted by internal intensity, and pro enjoyment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that orientation. So, from what I'm gathering, I've only read a little bit about organic intelligence. I saw that you had a paper that you had co-authored with the founder of this organic intelligence school of psychotherapy, you might call it. And I read a few pages of that. So I just have a very preliminary idea of it. So it's a kind of psychotherapy, correct me if I'm wrong. And might you say that this is like objectivism as a philosophy, but philosophy doesn't give us all the answers to everything, and we still need specific sciences, psychology, biology, chemistry, engineering. And so the, maybe one way one could think of this is kind of the objectivist application to the field of psychology. Do you think that
Oh,
would be, how
okay.
would you
Yeah,
put that?
thank you. Thanks. Let me cut in. The primary application right now is as a therapy, and many psychotherapists train in it and use it and apply it to help clients. But it is not per se a therapy. Well, we might have to get into what is therapy and the definitions, but I kind of am lazy to do that. I don't want to evade that. But so, but it does not have to be primarily a therapy. It could be as simple as right now you have a certain capacity for tolerating stimulation at a party or a social situation that has nothing to do with any therapeutic diagnosis. It's just you have a certain capacity for dealing with people, a certain capacity for noise stimulation, a certain capacity for information about math or physics, whatever. Just as you live life, you have a certain capacity for processing what's coming at you from the environment and from your biology. And organic intelligence theory outlines the nature of and means to increase the capacity. That has an application in therapeutic context, but it's not inherently therapy oriented, even though the dominant application is that. As far as uh, is organic intelligence, objectivism applied to psychology? Definitely not. Organic intelligence, well, first of all, the organic intelligence community would largely be very anti-objectivist. They're largely leftists, and then one objectivist. So it's not objectivism applied to psychology. It is an approach that I think is very profound and frontier and needs to be thought about. And I think it will be of interest to a lot of objectivists who are interested in the details of living life. One immediate thought right now is, for objectivism, the primary choice is the choice to focus, which is the choice to increase your level of awareness. That's the base of being able to be rational, to increase your focus. Now, one thing organic intelligence would say here is, if you decide to use your volition and direct your attention and increase your focus, what will come up to consciousness, the thoughts that will come up, the images that will come up, and the feelings that will come up, emotions and sensations, what will come up to consciousness is a function of the current organization of your biology. if you're if you're dominated, say, by anxiety as a general biological state, when you increase your level of awareness, it's very likely that thoughts, images, and feelings related to anxiety will come up, which are rather crippling to the ability to connect to the environment out there objectively without being dogged by internal intensity. So you could think one major value of organic intelligence work is to reorganize the biology and therefore the automatic thoughts, images, and feelings that arise so that when you decide to increase your level of awareness, you're not overwhelmed with pain and discomfort and just negative thoughts or fear. You're able to increase your level of awareness and focus and connect to reality simply, comfortably, without a lot of baggage from internal intensity getting in the way.
Okay. So when you talk about reorganizing the biology, is that another way of saying like rewiring your neurons? Or like what physiologically do you mean?
Now,
uh,
by the way, here, thanks for the question. Here is the good opportunity to get to bring in some Ayn Rand here, and especially the objectivist epistemology, because one thing I'm interested in. Oh, okay. First of all, I can't speak to what's happening on like neurons and brain networks and what's happening. I mean, there's stuff there, but I'm not in command of it. And there's, I think, a more important thing I want to add here, which is coming from objectivism, which is I'm very interested in bringing the objectivist epistemology to this field of psychology broadly construed, to therapy, including and especially including organic intelligence. So you would know, because you're an objectivist, in the objectivist epistemology, there's a lot of attention to what concepts come first, what concepts depend on other concepts, and what concepts are not necessary to understand what concepts. Yeah. And in the objectivist epistemology, it's improper to just load someone's mental bandwidth with concepts that are not necessary to understand an idea or to validate an idea. So I think, where am I going with this? A big thing I think in the world of therapy and coaching and self-development is that a lot of times people will throw in buzzwords and technical concepts. I'll throw out a few, but just as examples of concepts, not that we have to know what these are. Nervous system, neuron, neurotransmitter, polyvagal theory, sympathetic arousal, parasympathetic, uh, default mode network. These are just some examples of terms. It's not important what those are right now or at all in this meeting. But when you go into the healing world, you often get, well, here's our science-based stuff and here's some technical jargon to justify our views. I think a lot of that needs to be sorted out objectively, bringing in proper thinking methods of what concepts are actually necessary. And then once you do that, you'll find that I think a lot of the technical stuff is irrelevant and actually harmful to bring in because it implies that you need to know that to arrive at a certain idea. And it can be used, as you know, as the argument from intimidation. Yeah, like you bring a lot of technical concepts to intimidate someone. Sorry, this is like our last meeting where I just started talking and it raised a bunch of issues.
That's right.
So I'm very interested in proper thinking, objective thinking, for which objectivist epistemology is immeasurably valuable. So in my mind, the way to talk about and think about the organization of the biology is to talk about what people can perceive and what people could experience with a minimum of technical concepts. But I should throw out, or I should mention that method, which is objective thinking and objective, like perceiving reality and inducing and forming concepts, is alien to the current epistemological chaos out there of, well, we all have our beliefs and we have to get our PhDs and our literature and our citations and technical jargon to buttress our beliefs so that then we can, CBT can fight against psychodynamic and can fight against body-oriented approaches, can fight against organic intelligence. So I really want to focus, I would want to focus on how to communicate those ideas objectively, which means not bring in unnecessary technical jargon. And all that was just an example of how I'm trying to bring objectivism, and especially the objectivist epistemology, into understanding and elucidating organic intelligence. And there is an ultimate goal of trying to raise awareness of organic intelligence to the objectivist community, because I think they would find it very interesting and valuable.
Okay. So it's not essentially my organic intelligence is not essentially a therapy, although that might be its heaviest use. You said it's more
Right.
fundamentally, it's just about increasing your capacity to handle whatever life throws at you.
Yeah, and it may be happening in our meeting right now. Both of our biologies may be reorganizing as we do this meeting. After this recording ends, my capacity may have increased, your capacity may have increased, depending on certain conditions, depending on whether the intensity level in my biology is not too high and is oscillating in the right way, then I'll grow from this experience and build more capacity. But in another, let's say in another situation, I'm in a meeting and let's suppose my interviewer is very hostile and I get very nervous and stressed out and the interviewer is asking me, let's suppose for some reason I decided to agree to an interview with a leftist, and the leftist is asking me questions about, can you defend capitalism against these 8 objections? And then I get nervous and I don't know what to say and anxious. That would indicate that the intensity in my biology is too high because of the discomfort. And because it was too high, chances are my capacity will not grow from that experience. That's why high intensity events, according to organic intelligence, high intensity events, which is a organic intelligence's way of describing trauma. There are various reasons organic intelligence avoids using that word too much, but super high intensity events can damage our capacity or prevent us from growing capacity. Our capacity grows when intensity is not too much. And one sign of not too much is it's enjoyable. If the
Hmm.
intensity is enjoyable, we're likely to grow our capacity. If I expose myself to a situation that's very stressful, I'm not likely to grow capacity. And in that respect, organic intelligence is kind of countercultural because a lot of the mainstream advice is go after discomfort. If you're afraid of something, go at it. Lean into stress. Do what's hard. Face difficulty, and that's how you'll grow. According to organic intelligence, if you dive into stress and discomfort, the kind of growth that you'll undergo is increased ability to tolerate discomfort and be uncomfortable. But that's fundamentally different from the kind of growth organic intelligence is interested in, which is increased ability to be comfortable, increased ability to navigate life comfortably, as opposed to increased ability to tolerate discomfort. According to organic intelligence, those are fundamentally different. And increased ability to be comfortable is far more efficient for navigating life. If this meeting is comfortable and enjoyable for me, after the meeting, I won't crash and feel exhausted. I will bounce back and be able to do the next thing in life, play some piano. If this meeting is uncomfortable and stressful for me, I will just have to recover, and maybe I'll recover through piano, but it won't be as enjoyable.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
The phrase "no pain, no gain" came to mind. I saw that was mentioned in your article as a kind of model people have when it comes to self-improvement. Often they think there's got to be some kind of negativity involved, whereas for the organic intelligence approach, that's not the model. It's more of a positive. approach. Is
It's
that
more, yeah. So it's very countercultural. I know a lot of objectivists are into, discomfort is good because that's how you grow. Not just objectivists, but just people generally, right? Just get out of your comfort zone, all that stuff. But we are literally saying the way to grow your capacity is to lean into comfort. Challenges within the comfort zone grow the capacity to be comfortable while handling more intensity. Yes. So you gain through pleasure, you grow through pleasure.
okay? So you don't need to get out of your comfort zone to grow and increase your capacity. Y- you still need to challenge yourself, would you say? Like I've heard it sometimes said like you don't want a job that's too easy or too hard. If it's too easy, it's just boring. If it's too hard, it's just frustrating and overwhelming and you're not really getting anything. You want to hit a kind of sweet spot where it provides some level of challenge, but not too much that you just give up and it's overwhelming. Um, a kind of Goldilocks approach. I don't know if anything like that applies here,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering.
It, in yes, in the abstract, 100% yes to what you just said. And however, one major idea in organic intelligence is that our sense of what comfort really is off. And because our sense of what comfort really is off, that dogs our ability to assess what's the appropriate comfortable challenge.
Mm.
Um, a lot of people may say they're comfortable or say, well, I feel comfortable, I'm comfortable right now, but they're actually not, but they think they are because that's what they're used to. So comfort, according to organic intelligence, is chiefly marked by the fundamental marker of comfort, according to organic intelligence, is that your attention can easily connect to the immediate environment through the senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting. Your attention can easily and automatically connect to the immediate environment through the senses, as opposed to being driven by internal thoughts and feelings or being pulled towards internal thoughts and feelings. And that connection to the environment through the senses is called orientation. Orientation is the fundamental marker of comfort. Some people may think here of, well, isn't that being in the present, mindfulness, like grounding exercises, like wash your hands and find five things to look at when you're anxious, look at five things, smell four things, etc. Those are efforted practices at connecting to the environment. Orientation refers to automatic connection to the environment through the senses. And that's the chief marker of comfort because there's an inherent impulse for the biology to orient, to connect in a relaxed, unfocused, and automatic way to the environment. That impulse gets overridden when interior intensity is too much. And that can come from preoccupation with thoughts. So if I try to connect to the environment, but I'm thinking about problems or whatever, or I'm a little bit too distracted by, yeah, but internal stuff that comes up, that's not as oriented as if I were able to just connect to the environment easily. And I still have thoughts and feelings inside. I still have internal experience, but it's not so strong that it takes me out of orientation. A major part of discovering what comfort feels like is to discover what orientation is like. And that's a matter of practice and leaning into it when it happens. So all that is to say, many people will say they're comfortable, but often when they say they're comfortable, their biology is already pretty activated, pretty aroused. There's preoccupation, there's a little bit of discomfort in a social situation, but it's not registered as uncomfortable because all they know really is just constant preoccupation.
I'm wondering if this is a search for an effortless existence. Like, is that the goal here? Which, I mean, if you put it that way, it could sound like it's quite at odds with objectivism because I think it's often um, said that
Hmm.
we thinking requires effort, and this is the core choice we have to think or not, to focus or not, and doing so, focusing requires some effort. But I've noticed you've used, I think, a few times this term effortless, like we want to be able to do things effortlessly. Uh, so I mean,
Yeah.
is there a kind of a paradox here? You have to exert effort in order
Yeah.
to reach an effortless state, or
Good.
is effortlessness the goal,
So,
or
sorry. So, I'm sorry, Dan.
no, that's all right.
You are really good at letting people talk and not interrupting, and I find it takes effort for me not to interrupt. I guess. Sorry.
Please go ahead.
No, but thank you. Actually, our conversations prior to this recording about organic intelligence and effortlessness got me thinking that it would benefit me to think more about what I mean by effortlessness and how that concept comes in organic intelligence theory. So I'm just going to launch into, I think, a greater understanding of what effortless means according to organic intelligence is would be necessary here, right? So so here I go, just trying to do my best in the moment, free association. Um, Effortless inorganic intelligence in this context does not mean no physical exertion. So here's something someone might say. Running, like going for a jog or going for a run, takes effort. Thinking takes effort. Lying in bed doing nothing does not take effort. And then from that perspective, understanding effort in that way, and I've only given an exemplification, not a definition yet, only a sense of definition. From that perspective, yeah, objectivism, and many people would say, okay, you need effort. Get the hell off your ass and go think and act. But the meaning of effortless here is different, and I'll try. I'm right now. I feel like I'm circling, but I'll try to get to it. So for many people, it would be very difficult to just lie in bed and do nothing. It would be very hard. They want to go for a run and they want to think about something. Okay. So for those people, it would take a lot of effort to lay down, not move, and do nothing. It would take massive effort. Some people, and in some situations, what's really hard is to get your body moving. It's really hard to get up from bed and run, or really hard to think about something. And it would take a lot of effort to do that running or that thinking. When I refer to effortlessness, I refer to effortlessness in that second sense. What comes easily and naturally and in line with the impulse of the biology. Your impulse may be to be still and rest. Your impulse may be to run. Your impulse may be to do heavy weightlifting, a lot of physical effort in a literal, that first sense of effort. Or your impulse may be to rest, or your impulse may be to think about something. The goal here is to be able to do life, to handle life, whether it's resting or running or thinking, as effortlessly and automatically as possible in line with biological impulse. Because if it requires effort in the organic intelligence sense of going against what your biological impulse is, that's inefficient because you're having to use energy against your biology to do the thing, whatever the thing is, whether it's resting, thinking, going for a jog, or whatever. So the value of effortlessness in that sense is that you can handle more in life with much less effort.
Hmm. I,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of sometimes people say they're in the zone. They're doing some kind of activity and they're just very engaged. They lose themselves in their work. Sometimes you hear this kind of phrase, and I think that can be a good kind of experience to have, where you're just totally immersed in some activity, and I don't know if it feels effortful when you're in that state, but I guess there's something automatic about but it's experienced as enjoyable when you're in this kind
Yeah.
of you're in the zone, so to speak, and you're not pulled in these different directions. You're
Oh,
just totally immersed.
may I,
Please, please.
may I interrupt? Okay, because that's my biology wanting to interrupt you, and I gotta like, but if you said no, don't interrupt, I would have not interrupted. Um, so you said, well, you're thinking of flow states, and which brings us back to orientations. Remember when I said, according to organic intelligence, a lot of people don't understand what comfort really is, and the chief marker is orientation. What you describe in flow states, and what came to mind was people who spend their entire week at slot machines. That's a flow state. Being entranced in an activity which may be very pleasurable. People may associate that with comfort, but in those states, those intense flow states where you're absorbed in something and it's very pleasurable, that is often intensity in the biology being too much because it controls the attention. And a sign of whether the intensity is too high is, could the person orient? Is the person, so if you're in the flow of whatever, um, painting, slot machines, video game, thinking about something, watching a podcast, fighting with a friend about politics, fighting leftists, fighting rightists, whatever. If you're in the flow of something, is that flow dominating the biology, dominating the attention, or could it easily suddenly orient? And I would demonstrate orientation a little bit more, but for most people that's very boring because we want intensity, and that's what that's what podcasts and videos are all about. So it's hard to demonstrate orientation without boring people because what we're used to is constant intensity rather than orientation. But I'll just land that orientation is the chief marker of that baseline of comfort, not flow states, which are often
Hmm.
intense and absorbing. So if you're thinking flow states, you're thinking internal intensity, being pleasant and consuming everything. What I'm talking about, what we're talking about in organic intelligence is comfort means intensity is not too high in the biology, and the chief sign of that is orientation. The second sign of that is pleasure, and such as the pleasurable flow state. But the chief marker is orientation. The attention can sink in the immediate environment. I can look at my table, I can connect to my window, to the fan, to the walls, and I won't feel like I'm wasting my time, wasting my energy, being unproductive, and then this is very boring, and I have to get back to Dan. But I can orient. Now, I won't do it too much because we're doing a video, but on my own time, let's say I'm doing some writing, and am I absorbed in the writing in flow and inexorably absorbed, even if it's pleasurable? Or could my biology easily just orient, meaning it's not dominated by that the writing trance. It can orient to what is very ordinary and neutral, and some would say boring. The speakers on my desk, the napkin, my wallet.
I'm getting this sense that you're describing these flow states as in unhealthy kind of states, whereas if you could orient, by which I think you mean like connect to something other than what you're in the flow with, connect to something immediately perceptible by your five senses, then that would be more healthy. But I wasn't thinking of this flow state as an unhealthy kind of state to be in. I was actually thinking of it as a healthy kind of state you could be in. I mean,
Oh,
you want to be able to get out of it if circumstances require you to,
no,
but
I
per
know.
se,
Yeah.
I
I knew
didn't
you were
think.
saying it was healthy, and I was suggesting I was bringing in how countercultural organic intelligence is here, saying, yeah, I mean, flow is good, pleasure is good, being in the zone is good. Enjoy whatever there is to enjoy, and the chief marker is can you orient? Yeah.
So, like, if something in your environment calls for or requires your attention to go elsewhere than the thing you were focusing on, you should be able to reorient.
Um, Close. It's not that something else demands your attention because orientation is specifically unfocused. Can the attention have a background of I'm letting my eyes go where they want to go? That's by the way, a phrase in organic intelligence. Let the eyes go where they want to go. Can I let my eyes go where they want to go and be unfocused? Not in the objectivist well, let's get to judgment later, but can they be unfocused and relaxed and then come into focused attention when I want to or when necessary or when I feel the impulse to? But the contrast to the flow state is not focusing on something else, like, oh, I was absorbed in writing, but a bear is going to come at me and kill me. I'd better focus and run away, or someone's coming at me with a chainsaw. I better focus. It's that, can the focused attention easily and automatically fall back into unfocused attention, unfocused connection to the environment, which would indicate that intensity is not too high in the biology, that it controls my attention.
Mm. Unfocused attention.
Yeah,
I'm trying to process that one.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause
Um,
normally I think if you're attending to something, you're focused on it. Um, but could you say more about that? Like how you could be, it seemed like you were drawing a kind of contrast between attention and focus. And what exactly is the contrast in those concepts there?
Quick example off the top of my head. If a friend or a romantic partner has an issue with you and is criticizing you or giving you some feedback, I don't like it when you do this. When you did this yesterday, or when you didn't do this yesterday, it made me feel this. Now, how how intense is your biology when you're listening to them? Is it like, gotta make eye contact, God, this is so intense, and I'd better make sure I resolve this and really focus on it? Or can you listen and interact with them while having background awareness of the environment, which would indicate that intensity is not too high in the biology? That was just an example that came to mind very quickly.
Okay, so you're bringing in intensity there, um, to elucidate the difference between attention and
Yeah,
focus.
yeah. One other, can I throw out, I don't know how great my examples are or not, but can I do one other thing?
Sure.
So, so you could imagine, I'm in conversation with someone, let's say some objectivist intellect. I could see myself doing, I could picture myself here. I'm hanging out with some objectivist intellectuals, and they're discussing something. They're discussing immigration, or the Hamas Israel conflict, or something. And there's a lot of thinking, and then I say, and then I see something. We're at a cafe, and then I see something. It's like, oh, look, they're bringing out new croissants. They just baked some, and they're bringing out new pastries. And I could see these objectivists saying, like, kind of like, Bach, we're discussing the Hamas Israel war. You're just noticing pastries and talking about pastries. That's not relevant. You're not focused. Shame on you. You're being irrational. That's a straw man of them. But you could see that, you could imagine that these objectivist intellectuals are very focused on what's going on, and it would be difficult for them to just kind of detach a bit and just get into background awareness. Oh yeah, yeah, they're bringing out new pastries right now. And then you can go back to the discussion of politics or whatever. But how easily can the biologist just kind of chill out and be unfocused and relaxed and just notice the environment? That's major for organic intelligence. As an
Okay.
indication, yeah, okay. Are there any of
Oh,
those examples in the ballpark of moving us forward in some way here? Yeah.
uh,
When in doubt, I try to give examples in case I don't give the abstraction very clearly. So,
yeah, I guess I'm still somewhat hazy on the contrast between focus and attention as you're understanding these terms. I mean, I think there's
how easily, when you focus on something good, and how easily could you return to unfocused, relaxed connection to the environment? That's the phenomenon I'm trying to isolate.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, let's just talk for a second about the phrase organic intelligence itself. So organic, I mean, that's, I guess, close to the concept biological, and then intelligence. And I have some sense of what that is. So is this a a way of making yourself more intelligent, more able to deal with the world, to put it very broadly.
Yes,
Um,
and the E word, effortlessly.
okay.
Yeah, so that idea, um, if you're in a job that requires a lot of creativity and innovation, then a lot of your success will depend on when awesome creative ideas come up to your consciousness. How do you increase the chances that these awesome creative ideas will come up to consciousness? Organic intelligence would say for you to be in states of comfort, of being able to process whatever life is throwing at you comfortably so that you have more bandwidth to work on the creative process. If you're trying to handle full-time work, your day-to-day tasks at work, and a marriage and children and paying the mortgage and you're volunteering somewhere, if all that's very stressful and already eating up a lot of your bandwidth, then there's less bandwidth being devoted to creativity. So organic intelligence refers to the capacity of your biology to automatically and easily handle what's coming at you and have as much bandwidth as possible left over, have a lot of buffer from which a lot of new ideas and really awesome creative ideas can come. Just
So
kind of
maybe or organic could be contrasted with effortful or artificial. It's maybe a more natural
yeah,
um,
well, so
kind of intelligence.
yeah, organic refers to the contrast would be efforted and highly controlled. So, for example, if this conversation right now would be an example of an organic conversation, right? I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say. We have an overall agenda of discussing organic intelligence, but your mind may go here, and then we go over there, and then my mind may go there. Contrast that against a highly structured um, conversation and one motivation when someone might have for a highly structured conversation is that they're threatened by what's unknown and threatened by spontaneity. So they have to all be in control. And have to ask these questions. You have to stay within the lines, and you have to know exactly what you're saying. And every sentence has to be clear and lucid. And if you get vague and messy, that's not good. We have to bring it back. There's value to that, but when you inhibit what organically arises, you may inhibit a lot of value that may come spontaneously. Yes, there's messiness. So as we're talking, sometimes I'm vague or sometimes I may be slippery or messy, but that's part of the process where really good statements or ideas or words can come out through that organic process. And we're able to trust the biology to deliver words when the biology is comfortable and has high capacity.
I
So that
should
you don't have to
say,
rely. Okay. Yeah.
I do want to add though that I am exerting some effort in this conversation.
No, yeah, no,
Uh,
that's yeah. I mean, we gotta do what we gotta do, right? So
to,
yeah.
I'm exerting effort in order to follow it and come up with the next thing I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, it's and that's stressful. I mean, that's stressful. I mean, we're being watched, and what will the audience think? And is this like what the hell's going on? Or is it very interesting? Or are some people very interested because they see something here, and some people I'm not sure what this is. This is kind of vague. But I feel you on right now. Right now, this feels very effortful. Right? I would invite that we do 30 seconds of orientation, but then your audience would have to watch us for 30 seconds, be silent, and just kind of orient, which I know. So we'll do that later. Yeah.
Um, okay, how about we talk a little on so CBT is coming to mind,
Yeah.
cognitive behavioral therapy, because I know objectivist psychologists have said positive things about that. Maybe not, unequivocal endorsements, but at least it has some valuable techniques to offer. And I'm not really familiar with that myself. but maybe you could speak some about how organic intelligence differs from that and whether you've tried it. I mean, if I don't know if what kind of experience you might have had with different kinds of therapies, but if you want to talk some about your experiences with different sorts of therapies and how they compare and contrast with organic intelligence, I would be interested to hear about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to CBT therapy, psychodynamic therapy, other approaches. The relationship between organic intelligence and cognitive behavioral therapy. All right. The essence of cognitive behavioral therapy is how you feel is very much influenced by your automatic thoughts and your current and your current actions, what you're doing in life. So to change how you feel, to feel better, we work on changing your thoughts and changing your behavior. Okay, like let's work on your automatic thoughts. Are they realistic? Can you think more positively? And then behavior, can you try to eat fewer carbs, exercise more, do a journal where you write about stuff. So there's various behavior changes and then work on your thoughts. So how does organic intelligence relate here? 2 points. One, if cognitive behavioral therapy is helping, first of all, that's awesome. That's awesome. If it's helping, if your life is getting better, that's awesome. And what would be better than having to effort at changing thoughts and effort at changing behaviors is for your biology to automatically process what life is throwing at you so that you don't have to effort at changing your thoughts. If you don't have those negative thoughts, if you don't have those sabotaging thoughts, if you don't have impulses for non-adaptive behaviors, you won't have to spend as much effort, CBT effort, on those thoughts or on those behaviors. So growth of capacity is the end goal. Even if CBT helps, it's more efficient to have a capacity that can handle all that you can handle, all that you want to handle easily and comfortably. So the end goal is higher capacity. A preliminary step towards higher capacity can be I'm putting effort into changing my thoughts and changing my behavior. So that's the first point. Capacity is the end goal over continued efforting. The second point is when efforting doesn't work, organic intelligence offers an answer as to why it doesn't work. So some people may try to do CBT. Okay, I have a bunch of negative thoughts. I have a bunch of dark thoughts. I'm going to try to write down my negative thoughts in the left column, and then in the right column I'll do okay, my thought in the left column, no one likes me. Okay, wait, what's the right column? Oh, well, Dan Norton likes me. So whenever I think, oh, whenever I have the thought, oh, no one likes me, I'll think Dan Norton likes me. So at least one person likes me. I'm assuming you like me. One person likes me. So we're going to fight those. Okay. Now, if the cognitive restructuring doesn't work, and then if my effort, okay, I'm gonna eat fewer carbs. Okay, here I go. Oh, I ate carbs. Okay, tomorrow fewer carbs. Oh, too many carbs. Okay, tomorrow I'll eat fewer carbs. Oh, I ate too many carbs. If the thought work and the behavior work are not working, it's because your underlying biology does not want to change. If your underlying biology does not want to change, all the conscious exertion and efforting in the world won't change it. Your biology will backlash against you because if your biology is invested in staying the same, then it will want to have the same thoughts over and over again. So even if I say, even if I tell myself, okay, Dan Norton likes me, Dan Norton likes me, in the next minute or the next hour, the biology will say, no, don't try to change. We're safe not changing. So it'll furnish the thought, oh, no one likes you, no one likes you, because it keeps my biology stable. What we would want to do from an organic intelligence perspective is, okay, so why would a biology not want to change? A biology may not want to change because it regards any novelty as a threat. Why would it regard any novelty as a threat? It would regard any novelty as a threat because it's already at max capacity, handling the current intensity level. So from an organic intelligence perspective, we want to reduce the intensity. We want to reduce the intensity in the biology and find comfort, the baseline of orientation, to find comfort. By contrast, if you try to do cognitive work or behavior work, if I have the thought, no one likes me, no one likes me, and then I fight that thought with effort, Dan Norton likes me, Dan Norton is okay with me, and other people like me, my mom likes me, my other friend likes me, that's adding more intensity on a biology that's already overloaded with intensity. So if CBT efforts don't work, it's because you're just loading more intensity onto a biology that's already overloaded with intensity. We got to return to comfort, according to organic intelligence.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe we can.
I'm sorry you're having to effort so much, Dan.
No, I'm feeling okay here.
Okay.
Maybe we can wrap up by saying what you are currently doing. So you not just you don't just know a lot about this, but you're actually practicing it. I understand you've got a YouTube channel, and I don't know if you have patients of your own or seeking them, but why don't you just tell us about what you're currently working on related to this and
Oh,
where
yeah.
people can find out more about your work and what you do,
Thank you. I mean, you can look at the videos on the YouTube channel.
which I will link in the description, by
Yeah.
the way.
So my primary orientation is intellectual, not so much mm, my top value is objectivism. My second right now, and well, it has been forever. My second top value is organic intelligence, and I'm trying to think through both of them deeply and their interrelationships, and eventually, and probably eventually write them out. But for now, I'm trying to just get material content out there through YouTube. I'm going for just quantity, quantity, quantity. If it's good enough, I'll just put a video up because I want to get the ideas out there to see what people think instead of just spending my time writing this tome that will take years and who knows where that will go. And I'm also seeing clients where I do organic intelligence work with them. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's just I'm trying to organize around just objectivism and organic intelligence. Those are the two things. Objectivism is the more potent thing. It's a philosophy. Organic intelligence is a theory of auto-organization, of organizing biology. But my mission is think about these two things a lot, work them out, figure out how they relate to each other, and try to get people, and especially the objectivist community, to be aware of organic intelligence and interested in it. Because I think if they think it through, they think this is pretty, the idea of being able to increase your capacity is a super potent value.
All right. Well, there's a little advertisement for organic intelligence. So if anyone wants to learn more about it, you can check out Bach's channel. And if there's any other resources you want to plug, feel free to do that. Um,
Google it. I mean, the official website is organicintelligence.org, but Google has everything.
okay. Well, there you go. Well, thanks for coming on again, Bach. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye bye.